Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. That was, I thought I'd put that in right at the beginning of the video, just because it sets it up nicely for when we almost end up in the pond on this off-road Recon ride ahead of next weekend's battle on the beach. If you've never heard of this event before, it attracts like literally hundreds of cyclists down to Pembrey Country Park in South Wales. And we race along this beach, which we're about to enter. We also race through some woodland as well, so it's a real mixture. So there's the three musketeers out on a ride today. We got me, we got Emma just in front of me, and we got Bryn, all on gravel bikes. I'll get into my setup in a second, because that's what we were down here for. We were down here to test, a final test, to see if we were running good enough setups for the event. And the rain held off, but as you can see, it was a very gloomy day. A fairly high tide, as you can see as well. And this entry into the beach, we really learned our first thing today, and that was that wet sand, or damp sand, I suppose, from the weather, is actually a heck of a lot faster than like dry sand. If anything, dry sand, and Bryn said it himself, is almost like flour. It's very, very fine and just sends your bike all over the place. So we decided to ride down the beach and follow what was the route that I found from Strava, but more from a couple of years ago. So I don't know if it's like the actual route, but we decided to go on an adventure and just dig out some routes. So right at the end of this video, we're going to go off route a little bit, but we kind of went off route here where we ended up almost into a military zone. And a very nice gentleman told us that we weren't allowed anywhere near here. So we turned around and went back down the beach into a stonking headwind. The wind on the beach, right? And there's guys that are going to come over to this race from like the Netherlands. We did a couple of sprints down the beach, and we were reaching like close to 30 mile an hour very easily with the tailwind. So a bit of a bike breakdown for you. So I'm running 43mm Panaracer Gravel King semi slicks, a little bit different to the ones that I've been running, which are the standard Gravel Kings over the last couple of months. These tires I've been actually riding on the road as well, and they roll so fast on the road. And I was running 20 psi in them today. I went like really quite low, or what I thought was quite low, just to see how they would respond. And my first impressions were, they are awesome. So I set the bike up to do this rather nice shot while we were mending a puncture. I definitely wasn't helping at all. And then we got back to it. We headed back into the forest. You go over the dunes, and you get into this section which is like kind of half sand, half like forestry type of surface. Not quite sure like what like forestry surface is, but like you get the idea. You can slowly see we're starting to get into the trees, and this whole area has a military history. You can probably tell. So we head down this track, which is dead straight, and this may be what we're racing on next weekend. Coming off the beach, you can imagine there'll be a lot of people together coming off the beach and coming down this section. So this is quite a fast section, which then leads you onto this right-hander onto this gravel section. And there's actually very little gravel, I think, on this whole course, or at least if we're following the route that I found. So the gravel section, I don't know whether it allows you some rest, or whether it allows you to press on and make up like lost time, because there's obviously going to be people who are on mountain bikes here. There's going to be people on gravel bikes, which is what we're on. Bryn was running close to 50mm tires. I'm not quite sure on the brand. Emma was running Hutchinson brand. And also running actually lower than 20 psi, because he's running tubeless, so he was running closer to like 18 psi. And this, if we're doing this hill in the event, which is near enough 20%, but only for a couple of seconds, like 15-20 seconds, if there's a lot of people coming into this section, it's going to be mayhem. That's if we do it. Hopefully we do, because it'll also thin the field out, hopefully quite a bit. So I've ridden this section before, numerous times, and I think this was Bryn's first time, and Bryn actually got to the top there just before me, but we almost collided right at the end of it because I chose a line that I know that I'd done before and worked really well, whereas Bryn was seeing it for the first time and was actually slowing down quite a bit near the top. So now we know like lines to take, and again, because the sand was wet, man, it was like so much easier to ride, so much quicker than it was previously. And I don't know whether that's because of the tire pressure, but it's probably accumulation of a lot of things. But I'm definitely happy with the setup that I have, and so were the other guys too. I nearly deck it right there. That was nearly caught on camera. So twice I nearly crashed on this ride. And that was my own fault for coming in too fast and then putting too much pressure down onto the front wheel as I was turning around that bank. And this is something to be wary of. Like, I don't want to crash next week. And these leaves are wet, and you can see the single track, which we have a nice mix of. Like, there's a nice mix of single track, there's a nice mix of, you know, that little bit of gravel that we saw, which is a little bit wider, probably aside from the beach, obviously, the widest part of the course. And then we do a loop back bound. So basically this race is going to be around about 45 kilometers, taking around about, you know, an hour and a half upwards, and you enter this beach I think twice, and then you finish, or maybe 3 times, I don't know, but you have to hit this section at speed at least twice, and we were just familiarizing ourselves with it, and it's pretty gnarly, but once you get comfortable with it, it's good. So we stopped for a little bit of a break there on the sand to chat. I had a gel which I shoved down my shorts, and then it ended up leaking all the way down my leg, so I ended up with a sticky leg for the rest of the day. Tough to explain that one. So we headed back inland to do another recce of the route. We got back to that climb again, and this time Emma's in front of me, and we can see the line that Emma takes is marginally different to mine. And if you're doing Battle on the Beach, and we do end up going up this climb, which, like I said, I'm not 100% sure if we do or not, but if we do, you're better off staying left there, you're better off going wide here, and this is easier to ride in these conditions than it is in soft sand. I was taking the lines that I was taking when it was very soft, like so soft that it was like snow. Like the last time we rode it, it was so soft, it was like walking through, you know, a foot or two of snow. It was very loose under your tire. So picking the lines I was doing there were a lot easier in these conditions, but staying left is very important, and not going through the steepest section. You're keeping momentum as much as possible. Anyway, moving on, this is a bit of a fun ending to the video. This is a bit of single track that we just made up, and this is what's awesome about Pembrey Country Park, because not only does it have a purpose-built racing circuit, tarmac, there's been cyclocross races down here, but also this Battle on the Beach, you know, it really incorporates a lot of the back country, I suppose, of Pembrey Country Park. And we explored a lot of the paths. You know, they're not necessarily footpaths, they're just places where people have walked and created a route. And we just had a bit of an explore for the final time around. So this is the footage from right at the start of the video, where we're coming through this section at, like, it's not like super quick, but it's fast enough that, like, you know, you're right on the edge potentially, and there's a big tree root there that we go over, and it nearly sends us airborne and into the little pond, of which, you know, we wouldn't have been able to steer out of, because if you'd lost the front wheel being airborne there, you wouldn't have been able to correct it potentially. So it was just a bit of fun. We loved it. Enjoyed this final clip. I'm really looking forward to next weekend for the fun, to sharpen my elbows, and I think it's going to be a great way to kick off the year and get it back into that competitive outdoor spirit. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you've got any comments, if you've ever done this race before or this event before, and you've got any tips, because I'm sure some of you have, because it's a very popular event, or if this is one for your bucket list now and you're looking forward to the video next week, leave a comment down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.